The New York Times editor is standing by that paper's controversial investigation into the Benghazi attack. It killed 4 Americans, including the ambassador there, Chris Stevens. This, as some lawmakers insist, the paper's conclusions here, that al-Qaeda was not involved in the ambush, that a lot of it had to do with that demonstration over a video that was anti-Muslim. They say it's inaccurate. What does Christian Whiten say? He's a former State Department senior advisor, author of Smart Power, Between Diplomacy and War. So, Andrew Rosenthal would have us believe that, all of these people in the Obama administration, Matt Olson testifying before Congress, this was al-Qaeda, Hillary Clinton herself days later saying al-Qaeda, Leon Panetta saying it was a pre-planned terror attack, and the top 2 intel people, the Democrat and a Republican on Capitol Hill, saying the same thing. All those people are wrong, and this one guy, a reporter, Kirkpatrick, is right. Does that seem implausible?
It's completely ludicrous, and it looks like a political piece that's intended to stop the erosion of support for Hillary Clinton. Noticeably, Hillary Clinton wasn't mentioned once in this, even though she was a major player in this story. Why not? Because it's unflattering to remind people that she was derelict, that she didn't adequately provide for security for our ambassador and his staff in Libya, didn't respond to repeated requests for help, and then had her sidekick, Toria Nuland, basically phony up the talking points, turn them around 180 degrees from factual representations that it was an al-Qaeda-based terrorist attack into some movie trailer no one had seen.
And you know what's interesting? I kept reading through his report, Kirkpatrick's report. Nowhere does he mention Hillary Clinton. And in fact, Hillary Clinton, and I looked up the date, on September 26, she said publicly for the first time, this is directly linked to al-Qaeda, and in fact, the New York Times headline, Clinton suggests link to al-Qaeda. So this is a guy who is sort of defying his own employer and his own newspaper, right?
Right, and it gets even more strange. The chief defender of this report today from the New York Times, whom you mentioned, is not really from the investigative journalism side, such as it is at the New York Times. He's from the editorial side. He said he's going to be one of the chief people who decides whom that newspaper endorses when the Democratic nomination process comes around in 2016. So it's very odd. You have this investigative journalist, supposedly, and then you have someone from the opinion page coming and saying, no, it's real journalism. It just strains credulity.
Well, and I was surprised at the tone of this. It struck a great many people as sort of adolescent. I mean, here he is mocking the critics of the story for being political. In the same breath, he's being political, vigorously defending Democrats.
Right. And I spent 5 years on the 7th floor of the State Department. There are a number of fine Americans who are Foreign Service officers, permanent employees of that bureaucracy, but they are not generally political, and if they are, they tend to be Democratic. The notion that these people would risk their careers, their advancement, their security clearances to do the bidding of conservatives who are out to get Hillary Clinton or President Obama or Susan Rice, who propagated the lie that it was in response to a video and not an al-Qaeda attack. Right. It's just ludicrous. Also, they use circular logic. They sort of say, oh, it can't be al-Qaeda because the president said al-Qaeda is done for. Well, right. It was Ansar al-Sharia, which is the chief al-Qaeda affiliate in Libya.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your definition of al-Qaeda. It's pretty broad nowadays. Al-Qaeda affiliated, al-Qaeda subsidiary, al-Qaeda inspired. I mean, who knows? But the State Department, I want to ask you this since you spent time there, 7 years, I think you said? State Department initially claimed the attack sprung out of a video protest, famously, of course. Then they later admitted, no, there was no protest on the ground before the attack. Suddenly, yesterday, the spokeswoman comes forward, Marie Harf, and she speaks in defense of the New York Times story, which says a video protest was part of the attack. I mean, states got to be consistent here, don't they, or are they inherently inconsistent?
Well, it does seem like they're being inconsistent from, of course, what they originally said, but what they originally said was false. Also, but what they originally said was in contravention of all of the indications, all of the facts they received, the first-hand witnesses at the scene, what the Libyan government told us immediately, what became apparent from overhead imagery. We had a drone overhead that watched this whole thing, and all of that said terrorist attack, planned terrorist attack. But someone, and we still don't know that. That's part of the scandal we don't know. Someone created this phony story that it was in response to a movie trailer no one had seen, and it's important to remember this was less than 2 months before the 2012 presidential election. The White House was worried, Hillary Clinton worried about her legacy, wanting that nomination in 2016, everyone expects. And so it was, it's a political cover-up, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of all of it yet.
Christian Whiten, good to see you. Happy New Year's. Thank you.